Are we there? Are we on? All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to another live stream from my TV tonight. We're really happy to have Debra Curtis with us. Deb Curtis. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Deb's a pretty busy executive. Currently, she's a senior vice president of current programming at eOne Television, overseeing seven shows now?
Yeah.
Last time I talked to you, you had one in development.
Well, we have one. The seventh show has a 13-episode order for Space, which is a Canadian broadcaster, and we're in the process of trying to sell it in the U.S.
Okay, we'll cover that ground in a little bit. But prior to eOne, she was with Sony Television for 15 years as a vice president, overseeing shows like Damages, The Shield,
Rescue Me,
Whoa.
Drop Dead Diva, Rules of Engagement, Community.
Keep going.
Should I name all 25 of them?
950
Stargates.
950 plus episodes.
Hours of television.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Then for Graham King, GK Television, as vice president of development, correct?
Yep. We had a show called Continuum, which, again, it's a Canadian series that found a home in the U.S. It's on SyFy Network right now on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. Check it out.
Cool. And now at eOne. So that's to give a little bit of context of who our guest is this evening, and what we can learn from her experience. But I like to sort of create a context with our guests about who they are as people entering an industry, and so a little bit about your background, where you went to school, and it was entertainment always something that you wanted to do, or did you end up in it, or what did you study, what was your ambition, and sort of a nutshell summary of how you ended up where you are.
Well, I grew up in New York, and when I was looking for colleges, they had to have a Russian studies program and journalism. Right, because I was going to be an international journalist and travel all across the world, all expenses paid.
Oh, yeah?
Until freshman year when I took Introduction to International Relations and realized I hated politics. And that changed. I went to Brandeis University, and I studied English and American literature. I got involved in the theater programs, the undergraduate, not the official theater programs, but the clubs. And so I was producing for a few different theater clubs my senior year. And I'd stayed up in college one summer to take a class in theater management. And Boston pretty much goes dark in the theaters in the summertime because all the college students go away and the town gets pretty quiet. So I ended up getting a summer internship at a TV station. And I was writing bumper copy, like coming up next on Webster, I would write sort of the bumper copy of what was coming up. And I was cutting movie promos. So the 30-second movie promo for the movie that they were going to show that weekend, those were all done in-house. And so my senior year, when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I was looking at everything in New York from the NBC Page program to, working with Radio City Music Hall to working at ABC Daytime.
But you knew that it was going to be something related to...
I wanted to work in creative.
Right.
I wanted to do something in entertainment. I didn't know what. I just knew I wanted to be doing something creative.
And you already had...
And my first love was theater. I loved theater, and I knew you couldn't produce theater. You need money to produce theater. You don't make money producing theater. Yeah. So because I had the summer internship, my senior year, a friend of mine told me about an internship through the Television Academy Foundation. And at that time, they had 25 different categories. And I applied for broadcast promotions because that was the internship I had done the previous summer. And that year they had 750 applicants, and I got the internship. And so I flew out to LA, and I worked at KCOP TV as a summer intern. At the time it was very independent, Channel 13. Mm-hmm. And I did the same thing. I was writing bumper copy, coming up next on the Brady Bunch or whatever it was that they were showing. Oh God, I'm dating myself. Whatever it was that they were showing in syndication, and then writing and producing movie promos, because they would show movies at 3 and at 6 every Saturday and Sunday.
So you'd write
So we'd cut
the VO copy?
Yeah, so I would watch the movie, and I would decide which clips, what the voiceover was going to be, which clips they would show, which clips would have, dialogue, which clips would just be scenes, and basically edited together the movie promo. And I did maybe about 8 or 10 movie promos that summer as part of my internship.
And did you work with a VO talent?
No, they had an in-house guy, and
Okay.
it was just this, and dusty old records, and it was tape to tape. It was before Avids, and it was very interesting, time to be over there. And it was in the 1950s.
Oh, yes, of course. Black and white.
Yeah, exactly. They had talkies.
God.
They had the talkies. But so that was basically what got me out to California. It was the summer internship program, and it's a really great program. If we have anybody watching who is a college student or a graduate student, I think the internship applications are still being accepted. So go to Emmys. I think it's emmys.org.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's emmysfoundation.org. And just search for the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences internship program. So that's my plug for them because...
Maria, could you find that link for us, please, and just put it on the chat? Thanks.
And so I was already out in LA trying to figure out what to do. And the more people I spoke to, the more I realized what you needed to do was get an assistant job. And I landed, long story short, after interviewing and looking and whatever.
Assistant job because it's a foot in, or because it's a good mentorship opportunity?
Oh, no, because it's a foot in.
A foot in.
Very few people mentor anymore, which is unfortunate. But I got and I also knew that I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't want to be a director. I didn't want to be an actor. So I knew that I wanted to do something on the creative side. And so I needed to start learning more about what those jobs were. And so the more people I talked to, I reached out through my internship program, through the TV Academy Foundation, and through my alumni association, and tried to get in touch with as many alums of both my program, of the foundation, as well as my university, people who are working in the field, and just talking to as many people as possible, got as many general interviews as I could, and ended up getting hired by a former Brandeis alum, who was an agent at CAA, and he hired me to be his assistant, and I worked at CAA for him for a year, and then for another agent in the TV department for a year, and learned all about sort of the inner workings from the agency side.
Did you contemplate at one point maybe being an agent?
No, because I don't have a head for numbers, and I'm not a negotiator, and I'm not a salesperson, and it just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. But it was a great place to learn when you're 22, 23 years old, and you want to kind of get in the middle of Hollywood and see what's happening. As an assistant at an agency, your key responsibilities are to keep your boss organized, to answer the phones, to schedule their meetings, to make copies, to, get everything, get submissions out, get bookings in, make sure that if somebody books a job that the billing department knows about it. And so you learn about the business from the inside out. So when I was on this agent's desk, he was a TV packager, and what that means is he has clients who are writers, and when the writer has a project, he'll try and find other people within the agency, other talent, to package it together. So, for example, he had a showrunner, and the showrunner really wanted to work on something. Meanwhile, we had another feature writer in the company who was a prolific feature writer who had just done a project with a prolific feature producer, and they wanted to work together again, and my boss went to the library and said to me, pull all of the coverage for all of the scripts in the library that this guy has that are unproduced. So I did that. And then he read all the coverages, and he dropped 4 of them on my desk, and he said, get all these 4 scripts, I'm going to read them this weekend. So I got those. Came back, dropped the scripts on my desk, and says, I'm going to make this into a TV show. And it was called Emergency Ward by Michael Crichton. Mm. Now, he's not the only person that made that whole project come together, but it was the conglomeration of all the pieces falling into place at the same time.
And also thinking outside the box and just looking for the right idea, not necessarily trying to fit it into it being another feature film.
Crichton and Spielberg had just finished working on Jurassic Park. They wanted to find another project to work on together. At the same time, my boss was really anxious to try and find a really great project that would work in the world of television. So in shopping ER around town, it was really interesting because nobody wanted it. Every single network in town passed on this show.
Why? I mean, what was the line? It's too.
Nobody wants to watch. No, now this is the must-see TV era. This is in the 1990s, early 90s.
Right.
It's before DVRs. It's when you wanted to watch a TV show, you either set your VCR or you sat in front of the TV and you watched it.
Okay.
And so the general thought was nobody wants to sit in front of their TV set at 10 o'clock on a weeknight and watch catastrophes in an emergency room.
How wrong they were.
And, as the story goes, it became a huge, huge, huge success. But it was really interesting for me, and that's a whole long, long story that I only know a tiny little infinitesimal piece of.
Right.
Because in Warren Littlefield's book, he talks about sort of how ER came to be, and there's always 18 different sides to the story, and they're all right. It's because it really is, and this is sort of what we're getting at,